So we've reached that part of the class where we get to virtue ethics. Virtue ethics, personally, is one of my most frustrating ethical theories because I feel like it doesn't take a side. It doesn't take a side, but I could be. That's my own opinion, and that's what we're here for, is to discuss our opinions. So, one of the most traditional ways to apply virtue ethics is to discuss abortion. So, this is what that topic will focus on. So, that being the case, let's get into it. So, you'll see, I have a question here for you, and I want you to write a couple of paragraphs that kind of talk about abortion through the virtue's eyes. Remember, this is not necessarily your opinion. You really kind of want to go from the way of the virtues in Aristotle. So let me explain kind of what that means and in a little more detail. But if you want to walk away from the video, long story short, read the material, answer the question, couple paragraphs. So the question posed is, can a pro-life person who respects all forms of life also respect a pro-choices person to bodily autonomy? Now, I say here this is an elementary question, and I know that reads off. That's not it. I This whole sentence sounds mean when I reread it, but let me explain what that sentence means. When I say that's an elementary question, I don't mean like that's a dumb question for only little kids. No, I just mean like there are different layers to a question. And this is just scratching the surface of what the abortion issue is. And we could whittle this down to just bodily autonomy. And that is a level of the conversation. But as we get to the like hard questions of it, what you have at the end of the day is two competing lives for existence. And that's what I mean by like, all right, let's cut a little deeper, you know. So Aristotle believes that each person has the right to flourish, to meet their ultimate end and their ultimate purpose. So if we just say, for argument's sakes, that, you know, there is someone who is pregnant, let's say they're about 4.5 months along, and by now we are starting to get a viable, possible, potential human life in that belly right now. So Aristotle is looking at these two lives who he believes both have the right to flourish. And nature has selected the host who is pregnant to flourish, live, and thrive, but also nature selected that being to be the kind of guardian of that other life until it also could stand on its own 2 feet and flourish and survive. So then what are we talking about here? What Aristotle is talking about with the virtues is it's not so much bodily autonomy. We could both agree that you have the right to control your own sense of self and your own existence. But it gets super complicated when we interject, do we have an obligation to help others also thrive? So this conversation kind of moves out of the realm of strict abortion, but also to, you walk by someone who's on the street bleeding. Do you have an obligation to help them? Do you have an obligation to help your neighbor who's maybe a little short on cash this week and needs a little groceries? And then take it a little deeper. Do you have an obligation to that potential life that's growing to flourish in whatever way possible it might? So, for virtues, they're going to stay within the realm of life and existence if and like thriving. So if you pick this option, it's a little bit different than just a pro-life, pro-choice. You are discussing what it means to be life, what it means to thrive as a life, and then our obligation as fellow lives to each other. And without going to the extreme of yes and extreme no, Aristotle wants us to kind of look for that middle ground to kind of find a practical solution for everybody, because just screaming pro life or pro choice for the last 400 years is not quite working for us. So, can we look through the lens of Aristotle's theories and find some practical, workable solution to this situation? So, that's kind of what this option is. If you need help with it, let me know, and I'm here to help.